Hey there, and welcome to Know Your Vibes Astrology. I'm Katie Turner, and today I'm going to talk to you about Uranus and Capricorn in the 10th house. So if this is you, or if this is someone you're interested in, most likely you were born, or not most likely, you were born between 1988 and 1996. This is the Capricorn in Uranus generation, or Uranus and Capricorn generation, and you are most likely an Aries rising, but possibly also to a Pisces or Taurus rising. Maybe even Aquarius or Gemini if you're really got a longitude, latitude birth. But yeah, most likely an Aries rising. So this placement to me is one where I usually do actually like card pulls to figure out what placement I'm going to read for today. This was a placement that I was thinking about earlier today, Capricorn and Uranus, not necessarily the 10th house, the house I left open for the cards. And when I saw Uranus and Capricorn come up, when I pulled from the cards today, I was super excited to do this reading for you guys. So I'm going to start with the planet, add on the sign, and then add on the house layer to kind of add and combine all of these together. Sometimes, we can find on the internet something about Uranus and Capricorn, something about Uranus in the 10th house, but can we find all that combining energy? And for you guys, because Capricorn and 10th house are related, there is a little bit of synchronicity and repetition here. That's going to mean increased emphasis on this energy and increased importance with this energy. So starting with Uranus, Uranus is this planet of awakening and change and shifting. It is the generational, one of the generational planets, but it's really focused on humanity and society and how we connect to the larger global, or maybe not global, but just larger human collective. And so it is a collective consciousness. It is what society and human beings are thinking and putting out into the world. It is humanitarianism. So it is really focused as well onto innovation and problem solving. It rules adoption, which is a very innovative and problem solving way to take care of someone who maybe doesn't have the parents they need and needs love and attention and support. And so it's that innovation and stepping in and taking place. It does believe in utopia. So Uranus is focused on, how can we make the best society possible? Even if you don't believe in utopia, it still is, can we orient ourselves towards that direction? Can we at least aspire towards that? When it comes to how Uranus shows up in our lives, it is this lightning bolt. It shakes us up, and it shakes up our entire life and launches us forward. I always compare it to these breadcrumbs that our soul leaves us, but they're just these rapid shifting breadcrumbs. So once you follow them, things just move so quickly at like lightning pace, faster than maybe they would move if we didn't have that internal guidance that we were following, or if we didn't have that help from our guides. I do think of Uranus as well too as energy from spirits and guides and angels that are helping us. So it's our helpers, it's our network, it's just the people who are there to help us and connect to where we need to and help open up doors for us. With that being said, with angels and guides, they really work best when we ask them for help. So sometimes Uranus will come in on its own accord when we're not asking for anything. But also, too, it will come in when we're asking for help. And so if you ever are wanting to shake things up, if you're ever wanting to awaken something, or ever wanting to see a major shift, you can call on those forces to help you. Sometimes Uranus does kind of feel like accidents, or the Tower card and tarot, and maybe not something so good as that lightning strike or an earthquake, really shaking things up. The reason why it shakes things up is because something about the way things are no longer serves. And so it's going to shake that up so we can let go of tradition and the status quo and innovate something new and create something new and expand into something new. And so if there is something in your life that feels like that Tower moment with Uranus, chances are it's just trying to wake you up to something else and to build a better structure because something is no longer serving. The sooner you can kind of move with that, the better. I always say the accidents and miracles both come from Uranus. So it really just depends on your interpretation of the energy and what it feels like for you, how attached you were to the old. Uranus has no problem standing out from the crowd and really will work to challenge the status quo, because the status quo needs to be challenged. Sometimes the status quo no longer serves, and Uranus is here to enlighten and awaken and open up the door for more. So where your Uranus is placed is usually going to be where you feel very connected to society, but also to maybe where you stand out from society, where you don't really belong, maybe where you feel weird, where you feel like an outsider, where you feel different, where you challenge the status quo. It might be where you decide to rebel, and maybe it's not I'm challenging status quo, I don't like that, but I want to challenge the status quo. I don't want to be stuck in tradition. It's also going to be where you do experience a lot of awakenings, where you are connected to your friendships and network connections and things like that. It's where you give back to society, and it's where you're collectively consciously oriented, where you can think about other people. So having Uranus in Capricorn is interesting, because Uranus is kind of like what comes after Capricorn. Capricorn is the tradition. It is the structure. It is the discipline and the ambitions and the hard work that you have built. It becomes, because of that status quo, that Uranus is then trying to challenge. And so when you have Uranus in Capricorn, in this energy of status quo and tradition and structure, it makes it very hard for you guys to fit in when it comes to maybe your expectations your parents had for you for your career, or expectations you had for yourself for your career. You're going to challenge yourself, and you're going to challenge others when it comes to what is important to you and how you show up in a disciplined way. At the same time, you are very, very disciplined. You are very driven. You're ambitious. You're success-minded. It just might show up in a different way. It might not look like what other people expect it to look like. And that is for a reason. You are here specifically to help challenge the narrative and the story that we have collectively around what is hard work, what is integrity, what is, what is that energy that we're all seeking, where we're enough, where we're working hard enough and we're enough to be valid and worthy of what it is we've received. Because that's kind of what Capricorn is, right? It's the hard worker in us that deserves, rewards and return in that way. So this Uranus and Capricorn, you are really here to challenge the status quo of how we look at that. You also, with Capricorn, have to take this energy very seriously. And so if you don't embrace Uranus, if you don't embrace the lessons, the positives, if you don't, integrate, all of what Uranus is, then you're going to have trouble. You're going to have things that kind of go wrong, because with Capricorn, if you're not taking things very disciplined and serious, you're going to have life lessons that are going to teach you to take things seriously. They're going to kind of test your maturity and see if you can adapt to that in time. And so when it comes with this means that your maturity is being tested when it comes to how you connect to society. When you think about this age group from 1988 to 1996, it makes sense that this is kind of what you're going through, especially as, you're entering your 20-30s now. You're not entering your 20s. You're in your, mid-20s to 30s right now. You are really going through that phase of trying to build for yourself, your adult footing, and because, from sociology, we know that people don't really reach a full adulthood till they're in their 30s. Even if we, move out from the home when we're younger, we're still building things and still reworking things and reorganizing things, and it takes until we're 30 to really get our structure. And so, right now we are in that time period that is happening for us personally, because I'm part of this generation too. I don't have it in my 10th house, but I'm part of this generation too. And then at the same time too, you think about the collective and what is happening in our collective and where we're at as a society, as multiple societies, forming into one. We're moving through a lot. And so you guys really have to show up with your collective consciousness with integrity. You have to really be disciplined in how you think about humanity and how you think about the future of humanity, and how you really make sure that you are doing your part and honoring what you need to honor. Even if maybe all society doesn't bring that back for you, how can you honor that? How can you make sure too that you're doing the work to build towards a better society that you want, that you are hoping that comes in for yourself. Also too, with this placement, you may find that what is weird about you is very obvious, very, very noticeable. I think a lot with Uranus energy, like the LGBT community. That's a community that really has grown from challenging the status quo, embracing where they're different, and finding something special from that. And that to me is that Uranus energy of how can we challenge the status quo and come together in love and higher consciousness and show up in a better way. So whether or not you're LGBTQ or not, you know, in any way you can challenge tradition, challenge norms, challenge the structures that are built around you, and do so with integrity, do so with seriousness, and really show up to awaken yourself, really show up to find consciousness yourself, really show up to cultivate that awakening and enlightenment energy for yourself so that you can kind of walk your talk and help lead others or help inspire others or just be there with others. You don't have to lead because Uranus is not much of a leader energy. Capricorn more so, but Uranus can lead. Usually like social movements and things like that, but it's not about them being the leader. It's about the movement that they're trying to give voice to, the problems they're trying to solve. And so, yeah, when it comes to that energy, you have to be really serious about everything. So now putting this in the 10th house, that's where you get the repetition with Capricorn. And I almost say repetitiveness. I almost did that twice, but I want to stop and say repetition because repetitiveness seems like it's a bad thing, right? Like it's a quality where it's repetitive, it's boring, it's droning on and on and on. But repetition isn't a bad thing in and of itself. It just means to repeat something. When we're, so I'm big into yoga, and my yoga instructor will talk a lot about how repetition is important because we learn something new each time when we repeat something. And in astrology, when we have repetition, it's really about expanding and increasing and concentrating the energy. It's not just that we have one Capricorn energy, we're going to keep talking about Capricorn energy, but as we have Capricorn, we have the 10th house, and those are going to amplify that energy, is combining, it's adding more embodied to it as well too. So the 10th house is a very tip of your chart. It is all those things you aspire to be. It's going to sound like a lot like Capricorn because it's your career, it's your ambitions, it's your hard work. It is where you have to honor integrity and tradition and structure. You have to be conscientious of public opinion and perception. Even if you don't, put their opinion above your own, you are conscious to it with the 10th house. Like it is something that is in the public spotlight. It is primed for public opinion. It is things that, you won't see return on right away. And it's things that you have to be willing to master. It's something that you have to be able to grow and take care of that energy. Otherwise, life will throw those change ups and curveballs at you to make you master that. Like that Capricorn energy I was talking about. And so taking Uranus and Capricorn and placing it in the 10th house, this personal and external journey you have with awakening a new, level of discipline and career within the self, a new level of hard working with the self, or, where you have to really be serious and disciplined about where you are different, where you fit into society, that is within the public scope. That is within the public arena. So to kind of put a comparison, it could be in the private sphere. So you feel all those things and you have all those things, but you only really talk about it at home. You don't really share it with the world. It's just your partner knows that you have these personal desires. Even though they're public oriented with Capricorn, you don't talk about them too much and they only show up at work or at home. This energy is the exact opposite of that for you, where it lives in the public sphere. So it might be a part of your identity. Maybe it's something that you can't change about how you physically look. People just see it about you and they just know that. Or maybe, it's just every work environment you go into. I get this image of like someone who's way younger than everybody else who works with them and just kind of sticks out like a sore thumb for that reason. No reason other than just being younger. And there is that kind of energy with millennials versus Zoomers and boomers and all these generational kind of like, distrust and whatnot. And I just kind of get that energy of like people perceive you as more Uranus than Capricorn, even though you have a lot of Capricorn energy in you, even though you have that discipline and you have that drive and you have those ambitions, they just see you for where you challenge status quo, where you challenge their status quo. And that makes people uncomfortable. And that will be something with this 10th house placement. You have to kind of be at a good place with making people uncomfortable, and in a solid place with that, where you are not going to have your grounding shaken when someone is uncomfortable by you, where you're not going to lose your footing, where you're not going to lose your sense of self and your integrity and your orientation towards what you're moving towards. If you do find yourself being shaken, go within, figure out why that is, and trust yourself, and really know that your Uranus is where you are meant to challenge society. And so if you're not wanting, because with this Capricorn 10th house energy, it's very possible you don't want to be different. You don't want to stand out. But there's a reason for that. And it may be too, as well, too, to challenge your perceptions of what is important and what is worthy and what is valuable and what is worthy in terms of like how hardworking you show up. I just get all of this impression of expectations of who you have to be career-wise, and like career is your, not you personally that you made this way, but like people around you have made career as like the biggest thing that matters, you know, more than family or happiness or relationships or love or fun or just, I don't know, any other category in life. Like, it's just career became the most important thing, and because of that, it became this important landscape for you to really, really harness that Uranus energy and awaken to where you are meant to awaken. And that is my biggest takeaway for you guys for this placement is really embrace that Uranus energy and give it all the respect you can with that 10th house of Capricorn. Really treat it with, you know, like gentle gloves and care and make sure you treat it like it's precious and build on it, you know, treat it like it's precious and build structure for it, build it, support for it, work for it, and do things today that will benefit that part of you tomorrow. Work to really embrace that part of who you are. If your Uranus is retrograde, especially too, you know, this is going to be a lot about challenging your own internal status quo and your own internal perceptions of yourself. Really, really work to do that. Really work to open up that sense of self, and that love for the self. And yeah, all the love to you guys. Let me know how this placement resonates for you. What's your experience with your Uranus, Capricorn, and your 10th house? Thank you so much for listening. If you like, please subscribe and like the video. Let me know if there's any other sign, planet, house combinations you would be interested in knowing more about. And I'll talk to you next time.